Hey everyone, it's Sam here, and today I've got a really special card with you. I'm going to call this a double storybook card because on the front you have this sweet little scene that starts to pop up, and then when you open it you have this double-sided pop-up which kind of looks like a book, like pages of a book. It was so much fun to make. It's very easy, although it may look complicated. I do break it all down, and you don't need any specialty dies for this one. If you don't want to have the apertures, no dies are needed at all. All I used was some rectangle dies for these ones, but you could draw around something. The same with the front there. You could easily draw around something or leave this completely. It can just be plain, and when you open it up, you could just have two big panels, a nice big sentiment, and maybe a stamped image there. It's entirely up to you. And you've got all your space there on the back to write your message. So let's get started, and I'll show you how to make it. So this is going to become another little mini series. I've got two more for the last one, and then we can get into this one a bit more, because I want to do this in the other sizes and have multiple apertures and things like that. So if you like this style, make sure you subscribe so then you get to see everything else that I'm sharing. So this is the product that I'm using. I am just very inspired with this paper pad at the moment, hence all of the tutorials using it. But it's a lovely paper kit and you get all the ephemera in it, which is all here. And I've made so many cards with it and there's still tons there. So this one, but it's going to work for many occasions. Then I've used the stitch and pierced rectangles. They are old Creative Craft products. I'll give you the measurements, but again, like I said, anything, you know, in any shape, you don't have to have rectangles. I did use this one, the Let's Go Nuts for your birthday. You took that sentiment, but this is the stamp and die set of the paper pad. So if you like to have stamped images, then you can get that if you want. And then for the sentiment, I have got Happy Birthday on this one. So I've used my big words, so you get the big dies and then the stamps, and you can see how that looks on that one there. So I've gone ahead and cut everything, and I've also put some of it together as well because it's easy for me to just talk you through that. Again, I'm using this green card as well because I've just got loads of it. It has gone down quite a bit now though, so I can probably move on to another colour. So this is an 8x6 size. It was meant to be 6x6, but because it was a sample and I was just playing around, I thought actually I'll keep it as this size and then I'll revisit and do the 6x6, 5x7, and I want to do a slim line as well. So you want one piece of 6x8.5 and one piece of 6x8. This 6x8.5 piece along that long side, you're going to score at 8, okay? And then just fold that. So we're making our 6x8 card. You might already have this as a shop bought size, then you can just use that. I'm going to stick mine together. So the tab is on the back, but I've got my white piece of card that's going to go over and just disguise that. I've cut myself 3 pieces of this paper here, which is 5 3/4 by 7 3/4. Your front one, you want to stick it on the front and the back, and you can always do this later on, you don't have to do it right now. And then I've stuck it just onto that one side. I could stick that on as well, but I'm going to leave it to the end just so I don't mark the white card. So we'll stick that together. I'm going to use the construction glue because it's a bigger card. This will just keep it nice and strong. So just run that down your tab and then just sit that. Just make sure it all lines up like so. And if you close the card, it's easier then to just make sure it's all lined up like so. Okay, so that's how the card's going to open, and now we've got all that inside. So pop that to one side for now. Next you need these pieces here. So you may just want to have this one pop up here, these 2 panels, and not add the 2 small ones. So there's lots of steps that you can add and take away. So if you do want those bigger ones, then you're going to want 2 pieces of 5 by 8.5. Along the 8.5 side, you want to score at 1/2 inch, 1.5, 7 and 8. And you want to do that on 2 pieces. And then I've already stuck down my pattern paper on here. These are 3/4 inch by 4 3/4. Yeah, and you want 4 pieces, okay? Then if you want to do your panels on top, I've already cut into this one here. This is how it will look when you cut your aperture, but you may, like I said, just be keeping it like this. You'll want 2 pieces of 8 by 4. Along the 8-inch side, you want to score at 1/2 inch, 1.5, 6.5 and 7.5. And then you'll need 2 pieces of 4 3/4 by 3 3/4. So stick that all on and then cut your aperture. So that's where I've used these ones here. If you want a similar size to me, this is 3 7/8 by just under 3, like 2 7/8. Something, you know, you don't want to make this too weak, but you could also back that with acetate if you wanted to. So I think this is going to be really nice. I'm sure I'm going to do a Christmas version, and I'll probably put some of the snowfall acetate behind that, which would look really nice. So if you're cutting your Aperture, you want to lay your die or use your trimmer to cut a shape, draw around something. You just want to make sure you get it in the center and then just run that through your machine. Okay, so that's those already. So just fold and burnish all of the score lines, and you want to do that on these pieces as well. Now, if you've cut your apertures, so here, and then also we'll do this one on the front in a minute, but you can see inside I've got these extra bars. It's just got like a little rolling, like grassy hill there. These ones here you can see. So you've got another layer, another little pop-up. You'll want, this piece is the bigger one for the front. So again, optional, not everybody's going to need that one. This is 6.5 by 2.5, and you want to score along the long side at 1/2 inch and 6. And then I just cut a little shape into it. I've just angled the tabs there, fold those over, and I've just used the Rustic Wilderness Distress Oxide just to add a little bit of depth there with the colour. So that one's going to be for the front, and then these ones here you'll want 2, which is for each of these little sections. These are 6 by 1.5, and along that 6-inch side you're going to score at 1/2 and 5.5. Do that on both, and again just cut little wedges off of the edges there on those tabs. And then I've just cut just a little shape into them. You might have a border die, you know. You can also have these, there may be clouds, you could have them from the top if you wanted, and then maybe a little bird on some acetate or something. So lots and lots of scope, obviously different themes and occasions. So that is everything in terms of scoring. So next we're going to cut our aperture into this part. So I've got here some circle dies, and my aperture size is 4-inch diameter. All right, now I want to bring this out a little bit because it was not a big deal in the end because I just covered it with some leaves here, but you can see when this folds down, this kind of 1-inch section there just slightly came into view. So I'm just going to bring this out. So if I can see on this one, it was at 3/4 inch. So I'm just going to make sure that I'm just over 1 inch from that left side. And then just make sure I've got the same from the top and the bottom. Yours might be a square, could be an oval. Again, just take that down and then open it up and then run that through your machine. So it still go through a standard machine, but make sure you're cutting it through your double, you know, patterns there. So I was saying during the live, you may not want to decorate inside, but it just looked too green, even though I've got detail on the side there. So I added a little bit of a stitched detail trim there, but I just felt it did need, you know, something else. So I'm going to run that one through. I also recommend that you use like a 230 GSM cardstock because you're adding a lot of layers to this, and you can see with all of this folded together, you know, you've probably got about 1/4 inch dimension there, so you'll need a bouncy envelope or a box envelope for this one. Okay, so that hopefully, I've got my chrome plate so it does cut through all those layers really nicely. Okay, then I took that original size die and then I just got the next one up, pop them together, tape it down, and then I cut it in white card, and it gives you what I call like a polo mint thin frame, and that's going to just go over the top. You could have obviously any colour you want. I think a holographic silver gold card will look really nice. I'll probably use that when I do the Christmas version. So I'm just going to run my glue around here. So the checker print is probably making your eyes go funny because it is mine, but it does look really effective. Another thing, and I think I forgot to add it, yeah, so, which is the next step actually. If you've done this part here, this one here, you'll see I've got a scene on this side, which we'll add later, but I've also got a scene stuck on this side because that's what you see on the front. So right now you're just seeing this check print, but I want to break that up. So this one here is going to be the one that I'm going to stick in here. So the back side of it is where I need to add my scene. So I'm going to cut my scene so it's pretty much the same size as this piece here, so just under 5 by 5.5. Okay, so now when that sticks in there, this is the scene that you're going to see on the front. Okay, So before we stick this onto here, we want to add this larger piece. Again, if you've got this, you might not, but that is going to go inside like so. It's easy, there's just lots of steps, but there's also lots of bits that you can obviously, you know, take out of this. So you can make it really simple if you want. But I do like to do these complex kind of cards. So this one here, I've just added my glue on that side, that left side. You're going to butt this edge up to the inside fold there. What you can do actually is lie it down flat so it's running flush with the bottom of the card, and just fold that side over. Let me get that out of the way so it's not messing with your eyes too much. Okay, so when you bring that up, you'll see it's right in the middle there. So you've got 1/2 inch here and 1/2 inch there. I did say in the live, if you wanted to, you could make your tabs just 1/4 inch, and you could do 2 of these in here because you've got that 1 inch section. So you could have a 1/4 inch one there, another one there, and then you'll have 3/4 inch sections. So if you want more depth and more little things added in, it's very easy to do that. Okay, and then just fold that back that way so the whole card's flat. This tab should now sit right up to this fold. So all you need to do is just add your glue, okay, and then fold that side over. And then when you bring it all up, we've got our little section there. So I can add a little gnome or something onto it. So now we can start adding these 2 in. So you're going to turn this one over, and it's going to go in and stick down like so. So what you want to make sure at this point is when that tab's folded, this fold here is going to sit right up to the centre fold of the card, and you want it to be 1/2 inch from the bottom and the top. So it's all in the middle. Now I think I'm going to use the construction glue. It'll take a little bit longer to dry, but as I always say, this stuff's super strong. It's great for your paper crafts, especially when you're doing dimensional bits like this. I'm just going to spread that all out a little bit. So we'll do this side first. So I'm just going to take my ruler, just sit it at 1/2 inch there, just so I can roughly get that lined up. You've got quite a bit of wiggle time with this glue, and then just flatten the whole thing down and just make sure that it's right up to the fold, not over it, right up. You want that to be able to fold up like so, all right, because we've got the other side to put in. But make sure this is completely dry, this glue, that it doesn't shift at all when you go to stick all the other parts in. Now I've also realised I've stuck the paper on this inside, but you're not going to see that. And then just fold it back the other way. Just make sure that's nice and secure, and just check on this side here how that all looks from the front, which I think looks great. And then you can just open it up, and you're going to run your glue down the other tab, and then you want to keep that all folded under and just fold that all flat. Fold the whole card up. But now what I had before is you could see that little bit in my view here, but now you can't, so that sits much better. And again, just carefully open it up. This will all pop up in a minute when we add the other side, but now you should have something like that. Now we can stick this one down. So you're going to stick it the same way. They're going to be butted right up next to each other. So first of all, I'm just going to add the glue to the tab. You will end up adding the glue on this bit in a minute, but I'm just breaking down the steps, and then fold that under. And then that fold, you're going to line right up with this one here. So again, right up to that fold. And then this time, bring up this side and make sure that's butted right up. Again, give that a minute to completely dry, because you don't want it shifting when you fold it all down. And then bring it up, and again, add your glue onto this one. And then fold that all under, and again lay it all down. Okay, and just close everything up again, and just make sure that it all folds flat. So now just to one of these sides, I'm going to stick it to this side because it's probably a bit more drier. Just going to run the glue all over that section. Okay, and then I'm going to bring them up this way. You can just close the card, but I just want to check that everything is nice and kind of flush. Can you see that? You've got a little gap, you're going to get that because you're going over the score line. But as long as it's no bigger than kind of mine there, you know it's going to be fine. All right. So just, again, make sure you're happy with that. This is all lined up, and now you can close the card. And this is why I said make sure that it's all stuck down, because that will push the cardstock, but that's not shifted at all. So I'm just going to leave all that for a minute and let that dry, and then I can get these bits in place. So you want to take these two, and you're going to stick these inside just like you did with the front one. So I'm going to run my glue down one of the tabs, and then this side here I'm going to just sit up to this outer fold, make sure it runs nice and flush with the bottom. Just stick that down, and then when I bring this all up, you can see it's now in the middle of that section there. Okay, so it's just up to this outer fold, and just keep all of that flat, fold that one over, add your glue, and then you can fold all of that over. There's quite a few different ways of doing this. You've probably noticed I'm putting this is slightly different to the front bit that I just showed you. So, you know, some of you will have, you know, your own way of doing it. As long as you get it in the middle, so there's a 1/2 inch either side, here and here, then you know it's fine. So that's that one. And then again, the same with this one. Okay, so now they're ready. And then what I found was easiest to do was to add your scene, just stick it behind these two and then stick the whole thing down. Because to make sure you get that stuck down perfectly and then line that up and then get them together, I just think it's just too much. So if you just pop them in and just lightly stick them down like so, so you've almost got a little box, and then stick the boxes down. Use my quick grab. I'm just literally just tacking it in place because you're going to add your glue to the back of it all in a minute, like so. And then just sit your scene like so, and then just, if you fold that flat, okay, and then again just do the same with this one. Okay, so I've got my 2 frames. This is now nice and dry, so when you open it up, this should all pop up. And some of you might be stopping at this point, so you can just add, you know, some nice mats and layers onto this bit. So I do 4 3/4 by 5 1/4 on each side, big stamp sentiment, coloured in images. That will look lovely. Or cut your aperture, you know, into this side, and you could have another little pop-up. So you can just keep that one plain because you've obviously got your pop-up on the front. There's lots of different ways to do this. But now we're going to stick these down onto here. It just looks so much better now having a print here and then plain and then another print. I just think it kind of, yeah, fills that space. So this time you're going to add your glue all over the back of this, and then again you want to make sure it's 1/2 inch up from the bottom, and just line it right up to that center fold, and again make sure that that comes up right next to it, so you've got a nice right angle, you see there. And then the same with the other side, and then just butt this one up to that one. We'll stick them together when it's all stuck down, because again you don't want them shifting. So give that all a minute to dry, and then all you want to do is add your glue to one side and push those together. Okay, and then it's just down to decoration. So I've got my happy birthday, which is going to go on the front, the same as this one. I've stuck things behind the aperture there. I've got the little kind of nuts stuck behind the frame, things outside of the frame, but I've got the big fox and the tree trunk or tree stump in the middle there. I've got the big gnome there, another gnome there, and then the little bears. And what I liked is because I cut the bears, I then used their bottoms on the back of the card, which I thought was quite fun. We like that part. And then I've got my sentiments. I'm going to have, because I keep forgetting I've got all of these all come in the pack, but I'm going to have take a gnomement for yourself, and then let's go nuts for your birthday is going to go here. So I stamped it in this one, you can see there, but this time I'm going to use that one. So I think that looks nice. And then, yeah, just play around. I've got so much stuff here. I've got a few toadstools left still, so I'm probably going to do a similar, kind of like that one, just tucked behind there, another little one there. Yeah, and build up the scene. Like I said, just add your glue on one of those sides and just stick them together, and then I'll show you it when it's all done. So I've taken quite a while doing this, but I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Look at that, isn't it cute? We've got the little fox, and then we've got the gnome on that one there. How cute. And then on the front, you've got this little scene here, and then on the back I've done that, and I've just taken the stamped sentiment from that stamp set. Hope you get all you want for your birthday. I just absolutely love these, and it all folds down. Like I said, there is dimension to this, so probably better for a box envelope, or like I said, a bouncy envelope. It looks lovely, even if they just display it like so, because that does, as soon as you open it, it starts to, make sure, there we go. It just starts to, you know, you see that dimension. And then again, just show you this one here. Those bears just always make me smile. And then again, you can see how that looks. Absolutely love them. Thoroughly enjoyed these cards, and I can't wait to make more sizes, because I think it's going to be yeah, hopefully a popular one and you enjoy it. So as always, all the products that I've used today, if they're available, will be in the description box below. I'll have a playlist coming up now which will have all the cards featuring this Enchanted Forest collection that I'm using, but I'll also have another playlist. It might be cut, I'm not sure if I can share two together, of this mini series, the double storybook, something like that. That will be there as well, so you'll be able to see all the other ones when I make them. I'll add them into that playlist. Give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed today, so it does really help out the channel, and drop me a comment as well. As I always say, I do enjoy reading them, and that interaction does really help out the channel. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.